Anchors up, sails at full. Welcome to the Sloopcast. How you doing today, Kyle?
Doing all right. How are you doing, Jared?
I'm going to answer that question with a question, but first and foremost, new tradition, good tradition. My answer to your question with a question is beer good for a bad throat?
No, it is not.
Are you sure?
No, I'm not sure.
Because
I'm not sure.
There was a point in time in my life in which I believed, and you did too. There's nothing better for a throat than Jaeger. I mean, and that's alcohol, right?
Warm tea. Warm tea.
What about beer? Beer is tea. It's hop tea.
Sure.
This is scientifically accurate.
But
it is tea of hops.
You don't want to drink that warm, though, Jared.
They do in Ireland.
All right.
Although that's a stout, which is not what I'm drinking.
Another episode here of Jared, Scarlet and Grade here. A little bit different as Ohio State gets their first loss of the year. Unfortunately, in the Big Ten Conference Championship to Indiana. Right down to the wire there. I think I had it being a one-score game as well, just not the way that I thought it was going to be here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, you just got to give hats off to Indiana. They just overall they just played better than Ohio State here. My initial thoughts here, and we'll get to the grading here. Indiana converted third downs when they needed to, and Ohio State didn't.
Correct.
And Indiana was able to extend drives, and there was a period of time Indiana just had the ball so much longer than Ohio State, and Ohio State just couldn't really do much, especially in the ground game. They're able to figure something out as the second half went along, but yeah, just a little too late, too little, too late. And I think what hurts me the most in this game here, Jared, what hurts me the most is those two drives in the second half there. 12 plays, 70 yards, 7 minutes, and a 15 play, 81 yards, 8-minute drives, 0 points. To me, that's what hurt me the most. Not so much not the interceptions, not the number, not the field goal in the red zone, not the punts. It was those two drives right there that really just hurt me, because those were the drives that Ohio State just absolutely just dominated on, that they just executed so well all year.
There was one holding call, Stuart, although one was not sufficient.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you got to have hats off to Indiana. Such a great defense, confused Ohio State coaches offensively, but the defense played pretty well too. Yeah, I think they should have been able to stop them on third downs at times there.
Indiana they were the number one ranked offense in the country, and 18 points.
Yeah,
I'm not going to rip the defense.
No, I'm not either. No, I'm not either. The one downside to the defense though is that third downs is not holding Indiana down on those third downs. They ended up going 6 for 13, let's say 7 for 13 with the 1 for 1 fourth downs there. That's tough. That's tough to swallow.
Sure.
All right.
It sucks. You wanted to win the Big Ten. Ohio State hasn't won the Big Ten in now 6 years.
Yep, 6 years now.
And that sucks. This isn't Tressel's Big Ten anymore. Is one thing I think people need to settle with. The Big Ten is so much better now than it was 20 years ago. It's the best conference, at least at the top in the country. SEC's deeper, I'll acknowledge that, but at the top, I mean, the playoff committee really just cemented that. What was is 4, 5, 3 of the top 5 in the final playoff committee were Big Ten teams. Is that correct?
I think so.
Oregon came 5th, right? Yeah, because Ole Miss was 6th. So
yep. Yes.
At the top, the Big Ten's the best conference in the country right now, and winning it is tough, and it's going to continue to be tough. And in the age of NIL, because everyone can pay players now, and in the age of the transfer portal, where there is no more oversigning, because everyone can oversign now, because there's there's no more scholarship cap. There's just a roster cap. So effectively you have 105 scholarships. When a player wants to leave, they leave. Oversigning is irrelevant now. Everyone pays players now. The SEC's unfair advantages that they were able to roll on for so many years are gone now. And now the Big Ten gets to use its unfair advantages of the fact that the North has money that most of the South doesn't have. There's not a lot of money in Arkansas and Ole Miss and a lot of these southern states. That's going to be more difficult to pay players when the budget has gone up. Because if everyone can pay players, the budget goes up. And I just say all of this to say, Big Ten's the conference now. Period. The Big Ten is the conference now. And, you know, we'll talk more about the playoffs later this week. I think we'll do a Collegiate Chaos on Thursday or Wednesday or something. So we'll talk more about the playoff during that time. Right now, we're just going to talk about Ohio State and Indiana. And the fact of the matter is that while I still believe Ohio State's the better team, they didn't execute.
They weren't that night.
They did not execute on the key plays, such as and it's execution, but it's also play calling.
Yeah. Well, let's get into the report card, and we can go more in depth into that then.
But just to put a bow on like the game in general, it basically came down to 2 plays, which was a missed field goal, which is what it is, and a decision to sneak the ball when it was 1.5 yards. That's a long distance for a sneak. You change the outcome of those 2 plays, you win this football game. And that's football. Your margin of error, Ohio State was the better team, is the better team in my belief. But the margin of error against Indiana, who is also very, very good, was very, very thin. And Ohio State made too many mistakes and weren't able to overcome them.
Yep. All right, let's get into it. All right, first off, talking to offense, game plan. I'm going to say D. I'm going to say D, honestly. I liked some of the plays I saw on the passing side there, but what the hell is the coaches doing running 13 personnel that much? I can understand but as much as they did, which essentially means that you're taking out Carnell Tate, you're taking out Brandon Ennis, and at times you took out Jeremiah Smith as well. Like, get your best players on the field there.
Right.
Like there was way too much 13 personnel in that game, and any time that they were in 13 personnel, they didn't do well. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but
I've seen the numbers floating around, and they're devastating.
It's bad. It's really bad. But then when Jeremiah and Carnell are on the field, positive yardage by a wide margin.
Listen, sometimes you lose a game, and sometimes you have to learn a lesson from losing that game. And the lesson learned that needs to be learned from this game is essentially just feed your wide receivers.
Yeah.
And that's not to say abandon the running game by any means. But maybe the strategy, when you have this crew of wide receivers and you have this insanely accurate quarterback, maybe your run strategy shouldn't be to go heavy and try to ram the ball down people's throats, but rather spread them out.
Yep.
We were watching the game together in the social screen, in the Discord server on the social screen, and one of the things I was pointing out was your best blocker down in the red zone was Jeremiah Smith. Your best blocker in the red zone is Jeremiah Smith. Why? Because when you're on one hash and he's all the way over damn near the sidelines on the other side of the field, the safety has to kind of go over there too, effectively taking the safety out of the play.
What would you give the game
can
plan?
run the ball by spreading them out. I don't mind that they tried the 13 personnel. I don't mind all of that. I'm going to go like a C. I'm going to, however, slam them for not moving away from it in the next category.
Yeah. Yep. And in-game coaching, I'm going to say enough. I'll say enough because of exactly what you said, Jared. They kept sticking with it. Like it was just it was like the stubborn Ryan Day from the Michigan game last year. Just kept trying the same thing over and over again. And it's like, no, like you're playing to Indiana's strength there. And I understand at times their Ohio State's offensive line, I'll just leave it at that. The offensive line struggled. And I understand, okay, getting some more bigger bodies in there. But like, what are you going to do when you only have one wide receiver out there, like being able to run a more deep route there?
Right.
I just didn't like it.
No, it was puzzling. And, you know, they made a switch on the offensive line later in the game that should have just been how they started the game.
Yeah. Curious if that's going to be the same in 3.5 weeks from now.
It's not the first time that Gabe Van Sickle was plugged into a game, and he clearly performs better. So I don't know why he hasn't been starting the past few weeks, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Quarterbacks.
Van Sickle is a clear upgrade.
Yeah. All right. Quarterback, Jared. On the stats here, wasn't that bad. 72% against this kind of defense here. 258 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception here. Stat-wise, he wasn't that bad, but there was times he definitely was confused. This was the first time that I think Sand had to think a lot more. And again, it's just the level of competition.
Yep.
And he took him a little bit to get to, but those two drives in the second half, really, I think just in the second half in general, he did really well. He was starting to be able to figure the defense out and was making the right throws there. It just took a little bit longer than what we're accustomed to seeing Sand. So I'll say like a C+. I'll say like a C+ for me. Again, just expectations from what I've seen from Sand here. Definitely not. I think it was definitely his worst game overall. Not just the stats, but just in general, reading the defense and all that too.
Yeah, I mean, so what did you say? A C?
A C plus.
I'm putting this more on the coaches personally. I know you are too. I don't mean to suggest otherwise, but I'm gonna be more lenient here. I'm gonna go just like a B. He struggled for sure. He is still a freshman, a redshirt freshman, but he's still a freshman. And I feel like his coaching staff failed him more than anything else. It was a tough week, in all fairness to the coaching staff. Heartline maybe a bit preoccupied. Ohio State clearly put everything into beating Michigan. This, and I'm not trying to make excuses here by any means, but like everything in Columbus. If you're Ryan Day and every conversation he has had since winning the national title was congrats on winning the national title, but you got to go beat Michigan now. And Ohio State built their entire season around going and beating Michigan this year. Pays off. But then there's kind of a letdown afterwards. And meanwhile, Indiana played Purdue last week. And that's an advantage. It's not a giant advantage, but then you also have like recruiting, because apparently it's a good idea to have National Signing Day in the middle of the season.
So dumb. They got to change that. They've got to change that.
What was wrong with February? What was wrong with February? So you have all these coaches moving.
The reason for that is
the reasons don't matter because the reasons are bad.
There's a legit
quite
reason,
frankly.
Go ahead.
You have a situation in which coaches are being hired and fired and interviewing for jobs. You have teams preparing for their conference championship games, and you have players signing documents that will determine, the path they're going to be on for at least the next year, if not more. And we're all going to cram all of that into 1 week.
Yeah, I don't want to go too deep into this just because we're going to spend too much time on this here, but they wanted this early signing and so that these players can early enroll in January to the program. That is the reason why.
Right, but the problem is that it became an optional thing that players could do to
Correct.
A mandatory thing that was expected of players to do immediately. Like there wasn't even a warm-in period there.
Yep. All right, let's move on to run blocking here, Jared. What would you grade? I'll let you start it.
Probably like a D.
Yeah, I was thinking D minus. And only because they finally gotten things figured out in the second half there. When if I'm looking at the numbers here. Actually, they didn't really do all that well in each of the quarters. Actually,
they had one good drive where they were running the ball well, and that was about it.
And that was that second long drive in the fourth quarter.
Bo had some good runs, but only when we caught them off guard spikes. A+ comment.
Yeah, 2.6 yards, 1 yard, 1.4 yards, and 4.3 yards per rush.
We were running
each quarter.
We were running the ball well when Indiana was expecting us to throw the ball.
Yeah.
Maybe a lesson to be learned for the coaching staff.
In pass blocking, I think I'm going to say I'll say an F.
Yeah.
I'll say an F. Like
hold on. There we go. That was a piss poor performance from the pass blocking.
Everybody. It's not just one player.
Including Julian Sayin, including the tight ends, including the running backs.
Everybody. Yes. We'll just leave it at that.
Including the coaching staff.
All right,
quite
running. Whenever Bo was able to get the ball,
I thought he did well. I think when he was that bad. Space.
Yeah,
and so did West.
He averaged 5 yards a carry. Well, West struggled a little bit there. He had one decent run, but then the other two were just bad. But Bo Jackson almost 5 yards a carry against this defense.
But the one time Isaiah West actually had an opportunity where he wasn't immediately engulfed, he looked good.
Yeah. So I'll say running. I'll say B. I'm
actually going to leave it at an A. Because they just weren't getting any assistance when they had an opportunity to run, they ran well.
Yeah.
It's just that the blocking was never there.
All right. Receiving. Whenever they threw the ball, I didn't really have any issues with the receivers.
Well, I'll say this, and I think some of this is on Sayin, and I think some of this is on the coaching. I'd say most of it's probably on Sayin and the coaching. Sayin was having trouble finding open receivers. Now,
credit to
without being able to view the 22s, the game film, I can't say for certain how often was the case of Sayin not finding them, and how often was the case of there just not being anyone open.
Sure.
I know there was at least one play in which Ennis was running down the field by himself and Sayin just didn't find him. I don't know how common that was. That's not information.
But that's not on the receivers. Though.
In those cases, but I'm saying there were a lot of situations in which Sayin didn't find an open receiver, and without having, from the TV angle, which is all we have right now, from the TV angle, I can't tell you with a high level of certainty, were the receivers not getting open or were Sayin not finding them.
I'll stick with a B.
Yeah, there's just, I'm mostly just uncertain because I just don't know if I have the information available to me to make this decision right now, but I'll say a B+.
Okay. All right. Before we finish the offense and move on to the defense, we're going to take our first ad break and get back to our grading here. TheSloopcast.com, your go-to link for anything and everything Sloopcast related. If you haven't checked our website in a while here, we've given it a refresh there. So check us over at TheSloopcast.com, where you can find our YouTube page, our Discord page, our merch store, 7071 store, our Tedder gift page. A lot of great things in there. So if you love some great Buckeye gifts there, definitely check that section out. You can find those and much more over at thesloopcast.com. Let's take that ad break and we'll be right back.
Right. Spike says, I wonder how much was Sayin tunnel visioning and predetermined targetings.
Hard to tell.
Yeah, it's without the 22s, it's hard to tell. But a young quarterback who was seeing defenses he hadn't seen before and getting more pass rush than he's had all season, that's a thing that very well could have happened.
Sure. All right, drives and conversions.
Is this F's across the board? I mean,
Ohio State was 0 for 4 in the first half, and then was 1 for 7 going into the fourth quarter. You can not win football games.
Okay, that's not the most devastating. Drives and conversions.
Offensively, yeah. And then,
And then that's not the most devastating.
And it was being 0 for 1 on fourth downs.
Traditionally, Kyle, in drives and conversions, we've also included red zone statistics in this.
Yeah, red zone.
They entered the red zone 4 times and scored once. They entered the red zone 4 times and scored once. was it scored once or got one touchdown? I forget. What were the numbers on that, Kyle? Do you have that? Was it
No, Ohio State red zone 2 for 4. They were 2 for 4.
1 for 4? 1 for 4 on touchdowns. 2 for score. 2 for 4 on scoring.
Correct. Yes.
I don't know if we go F's across the. Do we go F's across the board on this, or
I just say D. Okay. I mean, I would say D.
I'll say an F.
Okay, that's fine. And then explosiveness, I actually haven't looked, Jared, at explosives for Ohio State here. So if I looked at their big plays here, 5 plays of 15 plus yards and 2 rushes of 10 or more yards. It's for this kind of defense here, it's okay. You would like to get, it's okay. So because it's okay, I'll say a C.
Yeah, you have to consider the defense they're playing. I'd say ultimately the biggest problem would be,
I think it's the rushing on the rushing side. Only being able to get 2 plays of going 10 or more yards. That's tough.
What was Carnell Tate's longest reception? 20 yards. That's bad.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting that on Tate for the record. That's not me slamming Tate. That's me slamming the offense as a whole.
Yeah. All right. What do you give grading, Jared?
Explosiveness, probably like a C+.
All right. And I give a C. And a C for chat. All right. I'm going to quickly move into the defense here. Defensively, again, you held Indiana, who's one of the top offensive teams in the country, in a variety of stats, including points per game, and you held them to 13 yards. You held Mendoza. Points. Yeah, 13 points. Yeah, you held Mendoza in check for most of the game. And we'll go more into all of them here. So I think overall, I think the defense did what they needed to do for the most part. So I'll say B. I think for the game plan.
I think it's an A. Personally, especially, I'm gonna be a little bit harsher on in-game coaching, but as far as starting the game, you hold them to no touchdowns in the first half, you hold them to 6 points in the first half. Again, considering this is the number 1 offense in the country, I felt like they did really good early on against Indiana.
Okay. In-game coaching.
By the way, as far as the defense is concerned, the 3 first quarter points that Indiana had, the offense handed to them.
Sure. Yeah. In-game coaching, I'll say a C. You could tell which players, because there's 2 players in particular that Indiana was going after when they were passing the ball, especially on third down. They knew who to attack.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
There was 2 players. Yeah. Who to attack, and they converted third downs, 6 for 13 on third downs. That's on the coaches for not getting them more help. So I'll say a C.
Yeah, I feel like Indiana did a much better job coming out of the half on both sides of the ball. Did Indiana? Indiana just seemed much more prepared in the second half. I don't think it's quite as bad as a C. Again, you held the best offense in the country statistically speaking. To 13 points. I'm not gonna. In fact, I'll probably go like a B+, but I am gonna grade this one a little more harshly.
Okay. Right, tackling. I I don't really recall any big issues with tackling overall. I mean, Black had himself a pretty good game running the ball, and he ran with some force, and so he was able to get a couple of extra yards, but it wasn't really a tackling issue because there wasn't really any like missed tackles or anything. So I think Ohio State did a pretty good job. So I'll say like an A minus.
I think I'm just gonna second what you said.
Okay. All right, and A minus for Chad as well. All right, run stop. You held Indiana 34 rushing attempts. That's a lot. 118 yards, 3.5 yards per carry there. That's on paper. That's not bad. That's not bad at all for
Kyle. What was Indiana's stats coming into the game? Weren't they one of the top 5 rushing teams in the country by most metrics, by most statistical measurements?
They were. Let's see here. I am zooming in real quick. Whoops. Sorry, Jared.
You're fine.
Let's see. Rushing. They were number 9 in the country with 223 yards per game, and you held them to how many yards did I say?
A little over 100.
So half that. Almost half that.
What about the per carry?
5.5.
And you held them to
3.5.
Yeah, that's an A+ performance.
Yeah, I'll say an A.
I'm going plus. I don't feel like we should just immediately dock a full letter off of every grade just because they lost the game.
Oh, I'm not. I said
I know. No. I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the fact that this game was a loss versus a win means we should just blanket downgrade all the grades. That's all.
Pass rush. Caden Curry and McDonald had themselves a spectacular game, especially early on. I'm going to give an A as well for the pass rush. I was really impressed with the defensive line getting to the quarterback. I mean, Curry set the tone from the first snap there. First snap.
Yeah. I think the standard A is good here.
You got to tip your hat off to Mendoza being able to
he is
stay in the game and do well and do well.
Okay, so a couple thoughts on that. One, he is the most awkward pocket scrambler I've ever seen in my life. He's also an incredibly awkward talker, but we're going to leave that off the podcast. Just very phony, but again, we're going to leave that off the podcast. There's zero chance in hell that Indiana did a concussion test on him.
Yeah.
His brain got rattled hard on that Curry hit. He left the game for one play. Zero chance in hell they did any concussion testing on him.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to Indiana's defense, he looked fine for the rest of the game. He didn't play concussed for the rest of the game. But
correct.
If you saw the way but I just made a brand new GIF of that hit. I watched that play in slow motion because when you go and you do the editing to make a new GIF like that, you end up watching like the play and then all the replays like 30 times, just as you're like fine tuning the editing. His head whipped nasty. There's zero excuse for him not getting concussion testing on the sideline. And I'm not saying that because I wanted him out of the game or because I wanted him to be hurt.
I was going to say, don't get us wrong. Don't get us wrong.
Right.
This want him in the game. We want him in the game to compete.
This is someone who has had like concussions in his life and like takes concussions seriously. Like that this isn't me talking as an Ohio State fan. I'm not saying Mendoza was or wasn't concussed. I'm saying there's zero excuse for the fact that Indiana did no testing.
Mm-hmm. All right. All right. Let's move a little quicker here. So pass coverage. I gotta say C. I'll say C. There were times that they did well, and other times, especially on third downs, that it was just pitiful. So yeah. I'll meet in the middle there. C.
I think that's a good way of saying it. I think overall they did fine as a pass coverage unit, but were not clutch. When the moments mattered, like on third downs, as Kyle said, Indiana is the one that came through more often than not. Mm-hmm. So I will also say C.
All right. Impact plays, Jared. I'll let you start.
They had a lot of impact plays. Lots of pass breakups, got an interception, a bunch of sacks, a bunch of hits on the quarterback. Caden Curry was a wrecking ball. Yeah. Impact plays probably like an A+.
Yeah, I'll say an A. I'll say an A for this one. Yeah, very defense did what they needed to do. We'll just keep it that simple.
Both the Cadens were beast. I know that you're talking about McDonald by the way you spelled it, Spikes, but both of the Cadens were beasts.
Yeah. All right, stops. All right, this is where I'm going to give stops a D.
Yeah.
Like 6 for 13.
This is where that lack of clutch really comes into play.
6 for 13 and 1 for 1 on fourth downs. That's got to get off the field. Got to get off the field there. So, and credit to Indiana being able to diagnose and see where they can attack the weakest link or links on the defense there. So you got to give credit to them. But so I'm going to say D.
I think the D is a little harsh, and I hear what you're saying about the third downs, and I think that's valid. But I think we also have to take into consideration red zones, and Ohio State's defense came in clutch in the red zone several occasions. Again, Indiana was gifted a field goal, but Ohio State's defense worked to make that field goal a field goal. Ohio State forced another field goal that was missed. Both teams had short field goal misses in this game. That should also be noted, because I know I was talking about Ohio State missing a field goal earlier. Well, Indiana also missed a short field goal.
I would agree with you, Jared, if the third downs were like third and 2, third and 3.
That's valid.
They averaged on third down distance to go of over 6 yards. Average. Now, Ohio State, I know we're talking about the defense, but Ohio State offensively was worse. They were averaging 7.5 yards to go on third downs. Yikes.
Yeah.
All right.
Which is why I was a little bit more lenient on Sayin and a little bit more harsh on the coaching, because they kept insisting on throwing 3 tight ends out there and running the ball, putting Sayin in must pass situations on third and longs on such a consistent basis.
Sure. All right. And don't breaks.
And by the way, both coaching staffs did that. I just want to state that for the record. Both coaching staffs were insanely insistent on establishing a run game that was not there. Both teams would have benefited greatly by throwing the ball a little bit more.
Holy crap, Jared. I just realized. Oh, no, that's different. Never mind. All right. And last one, Jared, is don't break.
Indiana didn't have many big plays.
They had a total of.
There was like a 3rd and short that
6.
they got a big play on. But it's really all I remember.
Yeah, they had 4 pass plays of 15 or more yards and only 2 rushes of 10 or more yards. Now, the one rush was right at the no, it wasn't at the beginning of the game, but it was in the first quarter though, where Black ran off for 35 or so yards then.
Right.
Yeah, and Mendoza only held, like I said, 4 times. of being able to pass the ball 15 or more yards. So I think don't break was pretty good, especially against this defense here. So
the 51 yarder is weighs heavy in the air though.
Yeah, that's tough. And then their last big play was you can pretty much call that one the silencer, the game killer, when Mendoza just threw that up for that first down on that third and 5 or 3rd and 6. It was that was the clutch throw there by Mendoza.
Yeah.
So I'll say B.
All right, let's well, actually probably should do the ad break first, and we can hit the overall in a quick fashion.
All right. Again, thesloopcast.com is your link for everything Sloopcast related. If you listen to us or watch us on the YouTube page, we have a playlist over at our over at thesloopcast.com. So if you like any of the music that we play on the show, we got a playlist there. So you can find that, as well as our merch store, our 7071 store, our Discord server as well, discord.thesloopcast.com. You can find those and much, much more over at thesloopcast.com. We'll go ahead and take our second ad break and finish up these gradings.
Oops, wrong one. In-game coaching overall.
In-game coaching. I'll say on average here, I'll say, I guess it's like a C plus. So I'll say C plus.
Okay. I think I'll go like I think that's fair.
Okay. All right, motivation and effort.
I think there is a motivation. I don't know if there was a motivation issue. I started to talk myself out of that. I don't know. How about that? How about me just saying I don't know? That breaks all the podcast rules, but that's just kind of how I feel. I don't know.
I think the effort's there. I think the effort was there.
I think there was maybe. Sorry, go ahead.
I say the effort's definitely there. It was hard seeing the motivation because you didn't really see anybody. You didn't see that the fire in people's eyes. You didn't see them on at least from the broadcast that we saw. Maybe there was.
I don't know. I don't know if that's. I'd say there's a lot of passion, at least on the defensive side. I would say.
Yeah.
That.
So I'll say B. I'll say a B.
Execution.
All right, overall.
Okay.
Yeah. Overall execution. Man, this one's tough.
No,
because offensively, well, defensively they executed pretty well.
You're right.
Yeah, but then offensively there was a lot of execution issues, a lot of questionable formations and play calling as well.
Well, that's coaching. That's not execution.
Sure. So I'll say like a C plus.
Okay.
All right, discipline is our next grading here. I'll say only 2 penalties in this game. 2 penalties for 20 yards. Pretty good here. So I'll say an A for discipline.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I also just don't have a strong opinion.
All right, special teams. All right, before anybody says anything, yes.
Yeah.
We know Fielding missed the field goal, but let's not.
Mike wasn't waiting on you.
I know he wasn't. Let's not put the entire blame on Fielding. Should he have made that? Absolutely. Absolutely, he should have made that.
That is Fielding, a surprisingly tough kick from that hash
Fielding
that close.
Is not the reason Ohio State lost. Fielding is not. He is a result of
no, you couldn't.
A group effort. It was a group effort of the team losing this game, not because Fielding missed a short field goal.
But listen, I'm going to say this because people maybe who don't understand. A right-footed kicker, and you can blame Brian Day for this or Brian Hartline for this if you want to, for putting him in this position. A right-footed kicker, we saw that the Indiana kicker do the same thing, by the way. A right-footed kicker kicking that close from the right hash is a difficult kick. I know it's close, and I know that they should make it, and you don't see it in the NFL because the hashes are a lot close. In the NFL, the hashes line up with the goalpost, which makes that kick a hell of a lot easier for NFL kickers.
Yep.
If you don't know that. When you're a college kicker, those hashes are outside of the goalpost. That is a tough kick. Again, we saw the Indiana kicker earlier in the game basically miss the same kick. I am coming to Fielding's defense on this.
Yeah. And looking at the other side, like McGuire had maybe his best punting of the season.
Yeah. And
he had all three of his punts were inside the 20. That's what you needed. That's what you need from your punter. And that really helped Ohio State. That really helped Ohio State out. This game could have been a lot worse if he had his typical punting average here. But still, I'll say like a, I don't know, C+. I'll say C+ for special teams.
I'll say
that's the one should. Yeah. All right, turnovers. Each team had one. I mean, I don't consider the loss of downs a turnover, but so one interception for each team there. The benefit was that Ohio State got 3 points out of their turnover that they got, and Indiana didn't get any for these. What? Yeah, they didn't get any point. No, they did. They did get a touchdown. No, we got the touchdown. They got 3 points. That's what it was. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, we got a touchdown. They got 3 points. So we benefited off of our turnover, Indiana's turnover, than the other way around. So I'll say B. I'll say B just because of that.
I'll keep it like I'll say A-. You got you said it. You got there eventually.
Yeah. All right. Overall offense here. I'll say C-. I'll say C-. And if this was not Indiana and it was a different team, I would have given an F here.
That's fair.
So I'll say C-.
Yeah, no, that's fair. You said minus actually. The hell am I doing?
What would you grade, Jared?
I don't know. I'm just struggling with the keyboard at the moment. This font does something weird with the C's and the minuses. It's been bugging me all season. I'm not using this font again next year.
Mm-hmm.
If there is a next year, but that's a different conversation. Offense. You know what, Kyle? I think you said it. I'm going to make it just a regular C, not because I disagree with you, but because because of the font.
All right, and C says chat as well. And defensively, I'm just kind of looking down. They did fine. So I would say, other than the stops, the stops,
the third down specifically.
Yes, that's what it was.
Because I feel like they did a good job
defense
with
did
the stops
pretty
in
good.
the red zone.
Yeah, the defense did pretty good. So I'll say B. 13 points led up. Yeah, I'll say B.
I'm gonna go A minus.
All right, and we got a B plus. All right, and overall here, it's a tale of two sides of the ball there. Defensively did their job. Offense did not. So I'll say C plus. You were like couple play. I think Jared said that at the beginning of the episode. You're just a couple plays away. There's a couple plays that could have turned the game over, and we'd be talking about a 17-13 Buckeye victory here for all we know. So I'll say C plus.
Like, and I'm not saying the replay was wrong, because it wasn't. Sand was clearly short. But if they just like don't run that replay, Ohio State.
They've done that before. They've done that before.
Sure, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If they don't buzz down for that replay, Ohio State might win this game. I think that's simple. I really honestly think it's that simple.
Yep.
And again, I'm not saying that the replay booth was wrong to do that. I think they were very clearly right to do that.
Correct.
But yeah. Oh well. I think the walkaway lesson here is that you're still in the playoff. Playoff committee only drops Ohio State one spot. We'll talk about the playoff in more detail later this week. Yeah. But playoff committee, I think, did a lot of right things in general. Among those correct right things was only dropping Ohio State one spot. Now, the way the bracket shook out, I would have rather have been dropped to third. I think Georgia has a much easier.
Yes.
I'd much rather play Ole Miss than either Texas A&M or Miami.
Yeah. And
it doesn't even bring in the fact that Georgia could theoretically play Tulane instead. I don't know what's wrong with the bracketing system and why the third seed got such a better draw. I think Ole Miss just shouldn't have been ranked sixth, quite frankly. I think Texas A&M, in my opinion, is better than Georgia. I think, and Georgia won the SEC and they should be ranked where they are. I'm not saying otherwise. But I think Texas A&M is legitimately. I honestly would put Texas A&M either fifth or sixth.
I mean, you say that the second spot there is the tough draw. Second year in a row, the number one spot is in a tough draw there. Like, well, Indiana has to go.
The entire system was broken last year. Yeah, and they fixed it for a reason. The whole conference champions automatically get the bye was a mistake from the beginning, and they corrected that. Yeah. Just think of Kyle under last year's system.
I know.
Ohio State would be ranked sixth.
Yes. Indiana plays Alabama or Oklahoma.
Or fifth.
That's tough.
Would have been ranked fifth.
Yeah. All right. Anything else, Jared? Anything else?
Honestly, I think Oklahoma sucks. Quite frankly, I don't think Oklahoma's all that good. But whatever.
We'll talk about that more later.
That's for later in the week. No, I think I'm good, and I'm probably going to lose my voice here in a second anyway. So,
all right. Well, I'll finish off then, Jared, with that.
Kyle's corner. Go.
Caleb Downs wins the Lot Impact Trophy. For those that do not know, the Loft Impact Trophy is for, it's pretty much for on and off the field excellence. Yes, it is a national award. Yes, it's on and off the field excellence, and he was a finalist, and obviously want it here. I'm trying to look real quick of who
Spikes is asking for a very specific reason if you didn't catch that, Kyle.
Yes. Oh, no, I know. I know
Okay.
it is. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I think Alabama. I think there was an Alabama player as well too that won. Let's see. It was a Georgia player, Ohio State player, Miami player, and a Texas Tech player. So all of that made the playoffs there. Were finalists here, and Caleb Downs ended up a winner there. So congrats to him. And that's it, Jared. We'll leave it at that.
Okay. I changed the on screen GIF for reasons.
Such a hit. Oh,
Hold on, I'm making it bigger. Screw this. I'll cover me because covering Kyle feels rude. There's no way he shouldn't have gone through concussion testing. Zero chance in hell he should not have gone through concussion testing. That head whip is nasty. There's zero chance his brain didn't rattle in there for a second. That's all I'm saying. Oh, and now I'm breaking everything. Everyone's seeing all of the layers of the thing. All right, there we go. Put that back in its place. All right. Might get demonetized for that, actually, now that I think about it. I should maybe, it's probably fine. Screw it. It's all black and white, and I cut it, so maybe it's fine. I don't know. We'll find out. Tonight's ending music brought to you by the Sidekicks. They're a band out of Cleveland. I think it's Cleveland. If it's not, I apologize. So with all that being said, I'd like to encourage everyone to drink local beer, listen to local music, and of course, support your local podcasters. Once again, these are the Sidekicks.